When it comes to stretching our muscles, something that's often overlooked is the fact that in our muscles, it's like they have their own brain. It's called a muscle spindle. And what that does is that will actually be the governor of how much tension there is in that muscle. So if you want to stretch that muscle, it's a good idea to help reset that little brain, that little muscle spindle in our muscle. And how we do that is a technique called muscle energy technique. Oftentimes that's actually done by a practitioner working with a client, but we can do that ourselves. And so what we're going to do is do that with a couple of the main stretches that we'd be using to help muscles that we commonly use for things like running, and also cycling, and even swimming to a certain, not so much swimming, but more running and cycling, where we're using in particular the bottom half of our body, not to overlook the upper half, and at this stage we're going to be focusing specifically on those muscles. So, what I mean by that, let's use the example of, to start with, our quads. So the muscle at the very front of the thigh. To think about what a muscle does, the best way to think about that is thinking about where it comes from, which is the very front of our pelvis up here, down and actually insert into our knee. So if we want to know what that muscle does, we actually think about those two ends coming closer together. So what the quadriceps does is it helps to extend the knee, but also does some flexion as well. So if we're going to stretch it out, we need to move where it goes from and where it goes to apart from one another. And we're going to incorporate this breathing. So you all have probably seen this stretch, which is for the quads. So it's moving where it goes to and where it comes from apart from one another. So we're going to do that with breathing. So to actually have a stretch on the quads, what we want to do is to move our knee further back, away from our pelvis. So we stretch it as far as we can, and using this breathing technique to help with the muscle energy and changing that muscle spindle, what we do is we breathe in first, we go as far as we can, and then we breathe in. And as we breathe out, we can move our knee further back. Okay, and we do that 3 times slowly, avoiding pain. So you just go up to the natural barrier. So we're now at the natural barrier again, breathing in. As we breathe out, we can move a little bit further, and then the same one last time, always 3, breathe in, and then out. Avoid one of the big mistakes with quads, which is leaning forwards like that, because then there's no stretch. Hold on to something as you do it. I've got pretty good balance, so I'm okay to do it without. Next, we're going to look at the hamstrings. The hamstrings comes from the butt down into the back of the knee, and there's several branches that same with the quads. But we're going to do a general stretch. So what you want to do is find something that you can put your leg onto, so it provides something that you can actually stretch against. It can be a friend's shoulder if you're out and about and actually on a run, and you don't have something you can balance against, or a wall or something like that, or a tree. So the aim again is the same, is we stretch the muscle to the point where we think, okay, I can feel a point of tension, breathing in. As we breathe out, we can go a little bit further, same again, and same again. And we actually increase the stretch that we would ordinarily get just by effectively like pushing against the muscle. Always do it both sides, okay, so not just one side like I'm doing here for a quick demo. Next one I'm going to show you is for the gastrocnemius muscle. So this comes from the back of the heel up into the back of the knee. So to stretch that, so the muscle action is to contract and push us off. It's the muscle that you see when girls wear heels. That's the muscle that's put on tension. So we want to stretch this out. A great place to do this is on a step. So stretching our heel down, okay, as far as we can go. Once we've got to that point, breathing in. As we breathe out, we can go a little further, and then we repeat that twice more. So those are the main muscles up here. What I'm also going to show you is the psoas stretch. That's spelled P-S for sugar, O-A-S for sugar, P-S-O-A-S, so it's got a silent P. This is often overlooked. It's one of the biggest muscles in the body, and it's so important because it crosses through from our diaphragm, underneath our diaphragm, the front of our ribs. So it's a muscle that's at the front of our spine. It's very unusual. And it comes and attaches to the front of all of our vertebrae at the front and down into the pelvis here. So it crosses many, many joints. When the origin and the insertion come together, it causes us to pull forwards, or we use it when we're walking or we're cycling, or it gets shortened and contracted when we sit down for long periods of time. So to stretch this one, coming right down, ideally so you have the foot here at right angles. So we're not forwards with the knee right over the toes, and we're not right back, but the knee is right over the ankle. In that position, coming down, so not arching up, but coming down. And in this position, to really get the good stretch, what we're going to do is let your groin, your back groin, go down towards the ground as far as you can. Same thing. I've gone down as far as I can with my groin towards the ground. I can feel that stretch down here. It's not so much for the hams, you want to feel it down in this back groin. Breathing in at that resistance point, and then out, stretch a little further down, same, number 2, and then same number 3. And there you have it. So those are the main stretches where we can really create that impact. Just bearing in mind, if you're doing running or cycling, it's really important to stretch out the upper body as well. So I'll just quickly show you a stretch, clasping your hands and breathing into the front of the chest so you can really open the pecs, because oftentimes when we're doing this kind of action, when we're running or on a cycle, then everything gets contracted forward. So I trust that that's useful. Let me know how it goes, and also let me know if you have any questions. Ciao for now.